I think if we had had a room twice the size of this, we probably would have filled in honor of our president, Dr. Morcos. You will be very pleased to know that I am not going to speak again today because I have to leave time for Dr. Morcos to give the second part of his speech tonight. So I don't want to impinge on his time. He's got some slides that he's going to project in the ceiling. But please, let's all grab your champagne and bring this for Jack and his lovely family. They're all here. Best. You're here. So since I promised you that I wasn't going to speak, I want to call on Ali Sultan. Ali, where are you? Ali Sultan is our local host, and he's one of the most wonderful people you've ever met, and we're very lucky to have him here. He's going to be the first speaker. And I will tell you that I'm not going to introduce any speakers. I'm just going to call you because the distinguished list of speakers we have, if I were to give their title, their accomplishments, it would take for each one of them the whole evening. So I'm just going to be calling people, and if you don't stay within the 2 minutes, we have a hook that we will pull you out. I can tell you that there were probably 30 people that asked me to speak tonight, and I wish we could have accommodated everybody, but we just have to do first come, first serve, and ask a few of you to say a few words. But let me begin with Ali to welcome you to Boston. Ali?
Well, welcome to Boston, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city that I left Miami for and feel right at home at the encouragement of Dr. Harros and Morcos. I don't think I've ever heard a more profound talk than the one that you showed today, and I don't know. I don't know if it's just that it hit on every single important thing that I have learned from you, or if it's the fact that I've actually seen you do all of those things. Everybody can talk, but there's few people that not only talk, but make it happen. I think the thing that resonated the most to me was the cracks that you talked about, you know, and the falling that we all do. And whether I saw that with you being dehydrated on the ground, unable to, during a surgery, and going to the side and putting an IV in to continue to take care of that human being that you had taken care of. Or whether it was one night late in the hotel, Mustafa and I were there, and I took a video of you without you knowing, talking about Lebanon and what you had to endure, right? Everybody sees this larger-than-life Morcos that is charismatic and beautiful and technically gifted and this and that. That aspect of you sharing that with everybody was so beautiful. And your pain and talking about your father and losing him at a young age and all of these difficult things that could crack people and has cracked most of the people that I know. And running into life with you at a point where I barely made it into neurosurgery, barely. An Afghan kid with all sorts of cracks in the world and no guidance. And you and Harros, and every time through my life, through residency, through being with you 7 years as a resident, another 7 years as an attending, how you healed those cracks in me whether it was taking care of my brother who almost died in the ICU in the middle of Saturday morning rounds, or when my life fell apart and we were talking in Paris and you talked to my beautiful wife who we're just starting to meet at the time, and I walked with you that night and I felt your energy and how you came to my wedding in the middle of the desert and gave us a hug and a love. Yeah, you are just, I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody else in the world like you. Everybody here feels what you do. When you come into a room, everybody lights up. Every single human being lights up. You come in, you make the situation easy, and you fill those cracks. You are the definition of beauty, of love, of light, and that's why we all congregate to you. What do we need in the world more than somebody like you at this time? I love you beyond words. And I can guarantee you there's so many people here that mean more than that. Thank you so much for bringing us all together. I hope you feel that tonight.
My name is Paul Camerata, and I spent much of my residency with Jacques in the halcyon days at the University of Minnesota with Roberto and others. We spent many winters together training. I was Roberto's first fellow there, and it was during that year that my wife and I were honored to attend the nuptials of you and Fiona in London. And I remember immediately after that coming, or actually it was before that, getting together as a group of residents in Minnesota and going to a bachelor party for Jacques and having a very beautiful waitress come over to the group of residents and said, "What do you guys do?" And one of our colleagues said, "I'm a brain surgeon." And then the next person said, "Me too." "I am too. I am too." And she said, "Yeah, right, sure, yeah." One of the things that those of us know about Jacques is his ability to honor those great mentors and educators and surgical masters in a unique way that is only Jacques, and we saw that today in spades. He's organized a number of these festschrifts for icons of neurosurgery. Many of you have been there, some of you are here tonight. A particular hallmark of many of these is a poem that Jacques often composes for the occasion. And so in the same vein, I'd like to honor Jacques with a poem composed for this event. It's a Shakespearean sonnet, so it's only 14 lines. You're not going to be here a long time. As many as you remember, maybe from high school or college, a Shakespearean sonnet is 14 lines, 3 quatrains, specific rhyming scheme, iambic pentameter, etc. So Jacques, without further ado, shall I compare thee to a summer snow? I'm just kidding. A surgeon born of parents in Levant was steeled by hellish years of civil war. From Lebanon to England, one rare grant, a prodigy who no one could ignore. In winter climes, his skills he ever honed, and cherished friendships forged through training days would strengthen midst the riddles he intoned. We watched as his career became ablaze. Yet not his many talks or accolades be measure of the man that she calls Jacques. The fame that through the years so often fades, nor papers that would fill a jumbo sack. His legacy, mentor extraordinaire, true friend and confidant beyond compare. Jacques. Let us toast Jacques. Raise your glasses. Cent'anni, Jacques.
Carlos David.
Finally, my chance, after all the years, roommate and so forth. So I apologize, I'm not the poet that Paul is, but I will give you my feeble attempt. Just let me start by saying, let me take you back to 1995, midsummer. Dr. Harros had just arrived as our new co-chairman. Dr. Green had just really started his chairmanship, and I was the rising chief resident. And Dr. Harros kept telling us in morning rounds about his protege named Jacques Morcos, and how Jacques Morcos, we were going to love this guy. And so one afternoon, I get a page from Dr. Green's office saying, come to his office. And that usually meant there was some famous patient that you had to arrange chemotherapy for or something along those lines. And I arrive, and there's this young man, tall, with this mustache, right out of the 1970s Marlboro Man. And they tell me he's hungry, take him to lunch. And so some friendships are born of battle. Some friendships are born of hardship. Ours was born in a greasy Cuban sandwich shop. So it started, as all epic tales must, with a Cuban sandwich and mutual trust. He trusted my answer when he said, "What's good to eat?" So here we were learning of each other, and I find that we are both Levantine souls, descendants of the Phoenicians. And here he was with his mustache that blocked out half the light. I stared at him and I wondered, Omar Sharif? If you squint, it's close, but no, it truly is Jacques Morcos, who appeared with his Clouseau accent and glint. A fox in the crowd, as was just mentioned. A wizard with words, psychoanalyzing strangers and baffling the herds. Math, puns, and puzzles galore, would quickly ensue, along with questions no sane man would dare pursue. He'd ask your darkest secrets over coffee by noon, and somehow you'd answer like it was a tune. I had the honor and privilege, and the occasional headache, of accompanying Jacques as he took his first surgical stakes. Fresh from the crystal tower of Barrow's fine dome to Jackson Memorial's chaos, far less polished his new home. There, amid pagers, frustrations, and late-night scans, I watched him become one of the finest of men. Not much of an athlete, and he'd be the first to confirm. When we crossed the Grand Canyon, it was an ordeal at best. I sherpa'd, I prodded, I dragged him with pride through every steep mile, through every endless stride. Yet somehow he smiled, math jokes in tow, surviving both cliffs and the blisters below. 1 trillion miles he's traveled, 1 trillion hearts he's won. He's a master of rooms and impossible fun. 100 slides in 10 minutes, no stress, just flair, with that Franco-Lebanese British Clouseau air. From that first messy sandwich to every next door, our families intertwined, and I gained even more. Not just a friend, not just a guide, but a brother I cherish. Jacques, may your mustache stay thick, your jokes stay as questionable, and may every journey ahead be as satisfying as that first sandwich we shared. And
You know, much has been made of my not being. Are you done? I'm
I have
sorry.
one thing to give him. I was able to find a Cuban artist in Miami to help commemorate this, and Fiona can put it with the portrait that's going to go in the powder room, I heard.
Oh my goodness. That's great. You know, I'm tired of everybody making fun of me for not being able to pronounce Jacques correctly. I want you to know that I have learned. Let me say it now. Jacques.
Jacques. Probably the best line that explains who this man is always be yourself, but if you can be Dr. Morcos, be Dr. Morcos. He's the man that really everybody wants to be. You know, Jacques and I started our academic careers about the same time. We were both immigrants to the United States. Jacques came from the desert. I came from the cold tundra. And we met along with John Ragab, who's here tonight. And we all started about the same time. We lived literally a half a mile away from each other on Key Biscayne. And I think we've both aged gracefully. You know, John actually started with that white beard, so you've actually gotten younger over time. But I tell you, we all know he's a master surgeon. You know, at the height just before he left, he was doing about 500 complex cases a year, which is really amazing because he was actually only in town 3 days a year. So figure that out. I mean, he literally has done every visiting professor in America, Canada, across the world. He's been president literally of every organization. And so the other thing I would say is, you know, he's known as the brain whisperer. People kind of think, oh, well, he's a brain surgeon, that makes sense. But the real reason behind the brain whisperer is he has the ability to, and I'm sure every single one of you in this room has experienced it, is that he has the ability to get inside your head. And so when he starts that with me, I usually kind of back up, because I know that it usually starts with, Alan, tell me if you will. And I go, oh, no, I'm not doing this. I am not doing this. One of our poor nurses, Kathy Rosenberg, has been scarred because he called her a peacock about 25 years ago, and she still, you know, is dealing with that. But, you know, what will I miss most? We used to operate on Wednesdays together, and he would come into my room, and he'd usually say, yet another unnecessary surgery, Dr. Levy. You know, why are you not using the extended lateral approach of Bernard? And I would go back in his room and tell him exactly the same thing. We're so proud of him. You know, he's now chair of UT at Houston, and he basically traded his Speedo and suntan lotion for, you know, cowboy boots and suntan lotion. And he is irreplaceable. We literally have 3 phenomenal faculty who are now taking over his job, but it took 3 of them to be able to cover your bases. So let's have a toast for incredible father, husband, international ambassador of neurosurgery, and his lovely wife Fiona, the only one that can dish it back in spades.
Bernard Berndock. Where are you, Bernard? There you are. Good.
Thank you, Dr. Harris, for that tremendous honor. Let's face it, we all want to be Jacques Morcos. He is the James Bond of neurosurgery. I just imagine, you know, when I was growing up in neurosurgery, I just always imagined Jacques driving his sports car, sunglasses, driving down the Miami beachfront highway, pulls up to the hospital, clips 3 giant aneurysms, home at 5 to have dinner with his family. Martini shaken, not stirred, with Fiona under the moonlight, listening to Fayrouz. Who wouldn't want to be Jacques? But you know, as his friend, I became a little concerned about him over the last year. He wasn't quite himself, and I was wondering, you know, is it the stress of leading this big organization? Is it the new chairmanship? And I finally figured it out today during his presidential address. As you can all tell, first of all, he's the first president of any medical society in history to do the individual nameplates for dinner. You know, that's never happened before. But you can tell he was tortured by the fact that he couldn't reconcile the drop in the ocean with the ripple effect, the physics of it. It wasn't quite clean. He tried the dominoes, he studied the physics of it, he pulled the old Isaac Newton manuscripts on calculus and quadratic equations. He couldn't sleep well at night, he's trying to figure it out. What can sustain the ripple? He went to the Princeton Advanced Institute for Physics, tortured those guys. And finally, Fiona was so gracious to hand me his calculations. So I talked to my friends at Stanford and other MIT, and they finally figured it out. There was a missing, I hate to say this, Jacques is so meticulous, he's never missed a stitch or a factor, but in this case, he missed one element in the equation. I'm sorry to expose him tonight. And I had to look up the work of C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis talks about 4 types of love. One is the unconditional love of a mother to her child, or God to all of you, and that's one type of love. The other type of love is the love of familiarity. Your high school or the second cousin you grew up with, you wouldn't die for them, but you enjoy them, and it's the love of familiarity. Then there's the love of friendship, and that love is probably the least understood. The love of friendship has to do with the fact, romantic love, which we'll leave to Fiona and Jacques, is about looking at each other. Love of friendship is about looking together at something bigger than yourselves, whether it be a cause. For example, at the Yassergill course, there were 500 people. We're still in love with the love that Yassergill planted in us. And I think we're all gathered here tonight because we all share that common love for artistic surgery, to do what's best for our fellow human being, to do what's best for patients. That love is what binds us. That's why we're all here tonight. And I think that's the factor he was missing in his equation, because that goes beyond dominoes and creates multiple dominoes, and that's what will sustain his vision and his legacy well beyond his working years. So I think that's what you miss, Jacques. So on a personal note, I'm so grateful for the mentorship that Jacques has given me over the last couple of years. There's nothing quite like calling Jacques. I text him day or night, midnight, Jacques, I've got a tough case I want to run by you. And I found out that the cheapest form of simulation is just to have Jacques, with his beautiful French accent, walk you through a case. I just pull up the FaceTime, show him the case, and he walks you through step by step. He can see the anatomy, he can see the approach, and it's almost like having a co-surgeon without having to bill. So, Jacques, thank you so much for your friendship, for your mentorship, and I love you. Thank you so much.
Nick Cann, one of Jack's fellows. Nick, where are you?
Keep it very short, but I could talk about Dr. Morcos' surgical skills, or his many criticisms of my lack of surgical skills. But working with him has been a pleasure. By the way, if you're from the South and you don't have good grammar and you write a paper with him, it's a big deal. It's 30 revisions. He knows what I'm talking about. But he's truly the man with the Midas touch. There's a few phrases to judge the character of a man. So if somebody that can do you can do nothing for, does everything for you, that's the true character of a man, and I think he embodies that. Everything he's done has affected others in many different ways. Everything he's touched has left it better than it was before, so he's truly the man with the Midas touch. Congratulations.
And to close this first session, and then we'll have the main dish, and then we'll have a few more speeches, incomparable Majid Sami. Where are you, Dr. Sami? There he comes. Remarkable. He looks younger than most of us.
What a pleasure, what a pleasure to have such an evening with you all. My dear Jacques, all people here are not enjoying this evening as much as I am enjoying. You know why? You know very well why. Because this evening, our host, who is the host? Not the Jacques is host, is Roberto is the host. Please, an applause for Roberto. Let me first say, great neurosurgeon, unbelievable, well-educated person. I met him as a very, very young professor in Mass General Hospital. It is more than 40 years. As I was asked from the Servos at that time, director of the department, to be visiting professor in Mass General Hospital, and Roberto was the person who had to take care of me. But my dear Jacques, you cannot imagine what he has done during the week. I was giving everyday lecture, educating the residents, and I felt in love with him and his family. He took me every day, also very often home, and taking also beside of our activity in Mass General Hospital, but with him. But this evening, he has invited all of us to honor you, my dear Jacques. This is, ladies and gentlemen, look at around the world. Can you find a teacher, a pupil who have created such an unbelievable relationship in science, in social life, and in everything is going on in neurosurgery? Please let me know when I can go down and sit there. Tell me such an example. Why that happens? Because when the teacher believes in someone and believes that this person has the highest quality to grow up, and you open the way for him. I must tell you, the greatest teacher around the world are those people who learn the way, who weigh the way, and who teach the way for pupil and show the way. And that is, Roberto, thank you for creating such a great, absolutely top level as neurosurgeon for not only for United States, but Jacques, I told you, you have the responsibility, your power and your knowledge you have received to serve for all people in the United States, but also around the world. Those people who believe really to get a position. I have had any position, political position. I never used the title of the position in my life. Don't believe that if you get some position in your country or in your continent or in the world, you are somebody. You are still nobody. You have to show the people that you are somebody. You can help, you can serve for the people, and you can try to educate people. And this is the way that we have seen from Roberto. An example is Jacques. Today I told in my talk in the morning that Jacques, with your presidency, you're creating a new era to open the way for all young American neurosurgeons to go this way, not to go for politics, not go to make money, but try to be a top-level neurosurgeon to serve for the patients, to educate young people who are hungry to learn it. Everything else is not for me acceptable, and I am very proud to be your friend, my dear Roberto, to be your friend, my dear Jacques. Thank you very much.
I do have to recognize somebody, a company called Stryker, for making this evening possible. Kylie Owens, come here. We've known each other for many years. I cannot thank you enough. This room cannot thank you and Stryker enough for supporting very generously this meeting, this dinner, for the first time in AANS history, north of $300,000 in support by this young lady, Stryker. Come here. Picture, somebody picture.
Very briefly, hello everybody, my name is Kylie Owens. My name is Kylie Owens and I'm Senior Director of Medical Education at Stryker. And I have had the privilege of working for Stryker for 19 years, and I've had the fortunate opportunity of working with many of you in this room. And on behalf of Stryker, we are so fortunate to be here tonight to honor you, Dr. Morcos, and just wanted to congratulate you and to thank the Morcos family for sharing him over all of these years. Fiona, you're an inspiration. I hope to be a wife like you, frankly. And just wanted to say congratulations and thank you for your partnership, for your friendship. We've had the lucky opportunity to partner with you. I remember when I first met you, coincidentally, at a course in St. Louis, and how lucky am I to have been able to work with you at many courses over the years, and then to continue that and be able to innovate many products and to advance neurosurgery and then to transform lives. So cheers to you, thank you, congrats.
Where is Mustafa? There he is. Come on over. Another superstar from Dr. Morcos' stable.
Hello, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Hiros, and thank you, Dr. Morcos, all the guests. Dr. Hiros asked me to talk 2 minutes. I can speak 2 words in 2 minutes. That's one problem. Sorry, sir. Okay. So I started fellowship in July 2000 with Dr. Hiros and Dr. Morcos. And I learned a lot from Dr. Hiros. I didn't learn anything from you. I didn't learn how to use the spaceler suction. I didn't learn how to use the mouthpiece, Yaşargil mouthpiece. I didn't learn how to open the Sylvian fissure. And at the end, I have been subject of your verbal harassment and hundreds of million times of your psychoanalysis. You call me psychotic Turk, vocabulary constipated Turk and other things. And then your riddles and math questions and physics. I cannot take it anymore. You have to stop it, man. And then this, you guys don't know the Stockholm syndrome, right? In neurosurgery, there's a similar syndrome, Morcosism. So this guy comes and abuses you, tortures you, you fall in love with him. So I love you. Thank you very much. Everything you did for me and you'll continue to do for me. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mustafa. Dr. Figen, all the way from South Africa.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Harris. This really is an incredible honor to be here, Jacques and Fiona. So I want to start by congratulating you, Jacques, and the American Association of Neurological Surgeons for just the most amazing meeting. So there are many different metrics of a successful meeting, but the figure we've heard repeatedly, that there are over 600 of us foreigners here at this meeting, more than 20% the delegates. That's incredible. So well done to AANS. I think, yeah. So at this point in history, I think we really needed this. We really needed to come together as an international community, and it's been amazing being here. So very proud to be here among all of you. So Jacques, you gave us an amazing talk today, and you spoke about love, and you spoke about the love of your family, and it's just amazing to be here with your family. You spoke about your love of neurosurgery, but you also spoke about your love of humanity. And I think that's really what I want to talk about in my little sec. I've never worked with you. In fact, I've never been in the operating room with you. I kind of feel a bit inadequate, actually, listening to all these amazing stories about you in theater. So maybe we can correct that one day. But the contact I've had with you largely has been around the World Federation, and your commitment to international neurosurgery has been amazing. You and Roberto had the World Congress here in Boston in 2009, which was an amazing event. Since then, you've put so much effort into WFNS. You've taken on all the difficult jobs, like running constitutional bylaws and all these dreadful jobs that nobody else wanted to do. And you've done them with courage and conviction and honesty and a sense of justice and a really good sense of humor. And I think that's what's kind of kept a lot of other people sane. So that's been amazing. When we had the World Congress in Cape Town, you were the person that I turned to repeatedly. And I used to get these emails from Jacques that would end off with a transatlantic hug, sort of helping me to cope with the sort of horrors of putting this World Congress together. So Jacques, thank you so much for all of that. When you spoke today, you used the analogy of a mosaic, and I thought that was incredibly powerful. The way you spoke about, you could not be one component because all of it's relevant. And it's kind of similar to that concept of Ubuntu that we spoke about in Cape Town, that all of us are defined by our relationship to each other. And I guess I just want to end off with a quote from Nelson Mandela, who, in a sense, you're kind of a Mandela-like figure in neurosurgery. You kind of bring people together. You're always a peacemaker. And it's tough in international neurosurgery when, the stakes get high. Jacques is always there, kind of bringing people together. And Mandela wrote, and we had a warning from Al Cohn today that you mustn't believe everything you read on the internet. But I have it on good authority that Mandela did actually say this, that a good head and a good heart are a formidable combination. And Jacques, you're a formidable friend. I think many, many people in this room have had the experience of getting to experience your friendship, and hopefully we'll all enjoy that for many years to come. So thank you so much, Jacques.
Dr. Westmark. There you are.
Good evening. Roberto, Dr. Harris, I'm going to keep this very short because I see you stand up there and intimidate people, and I am very intimidated by you. So I'm going to make you a solemn promise, less than 50 minutes. Guaranteed. So everybody in the room believes in hard work. I know that. I've always believed in luck. And I just look back at life and I always figure out, well, okay, where was it luck? So I ended up at the BNI with Jacques, where I was the Sontag Fellow, and luck has it that Jacques is the Swetzer Fellow. And then you fast forward 25 years, and luck brings him to be my neighbor in Houston, which is pretty remarkable. And that allowed my wife, Kay, and I to get to know his beautiful wife, Fiona. And Jacques, I realize my wife will be disappointed that I'm not as nice to her as I was to you, but I was, as you were to Fiona, but I understand why you were so nice. You definitely married up. We've also gotten to know Isabella, John, and Tina in birth order. And they're just amazing. I mean, if you get to spend some time with the kids, you'll understand. So why are we all so lucky to know Jacques? And it's because, I'm certain, because he has the most unusual personality traits. They're incongruent, they're almost inconsistent, contradictory. He's got unbridled ambition. Okay, that's fine. But how do you match that with humility and humbleness? And I must say, Jacques, I know you know everything. I don't. I had to look up humility and humbleness because I didn't know the difference between the two. They both said, see Jacques Morcos. So you take, unbridled ambition, humility, humbleness, compassion, generosity, and they almost don't all fit together. I think that's why we all feel so lucky we know Jacques, because he almost doesn't make sense in that way. You're too good to be true, I guess, is another way of saying it. And then our luck continued today, where my mentor, Dr. Harrows, could I have the floor, please, Dr. Harrows? Roberto. I'm talking about you. Today, the luck continued because we all got to hear my mentor and hero, Dr. Harrows, introduce Jacques in a way that I think most of us probably cried a little bit. And then we got to hear the most beautiful speech, literally, that I've ever heard, and I think that's true for a huge number of people in the room. So I'd like to toast Jacques, his family, and luck.
Dr. Sawaya from Lebanon. Hi, Ray.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Roberto. Where is he? Thank you for inviting me to say a few words. I'm going to start by telling you a few years ago, I was the honored guest of the Congress. And I asked if my cousin can speak and explain our relationship. And what he did, he showed a picture of me with a mustache and made me look like Escobar, the cartel leader from Colombia. So I said, wow, that evening is my chance for a payback. Except his speech today. When we heard him speak, we paralyzed. We are in awe. Jacques, you were magnificent. And as I told you earlier, I want to listen to your speech 3 times to be able to absorb all of what you said. Now, what I want to share with you is my journey with Jacques. We call each other cousins, but in fact, we're not cousins. How so? Jacques' father, Jean, you saw his picture earlier, Roberto showed it to you, is my grandmother's brother. So in reality, Jacques is my father's cousin, and therefore Jacques is my uncle. And I'm sorry for Isabel, John, and Christina. You are my cousin. I'm not your uncle. Okay, but that's not the point. The point is, Jacques is 11 years younger than me. So obviously, I couldn't call him uncle, and he couldn't call me nephew. We call each other cousin, and we're fine with that. But being 11 years younger than me, that means I really did not know Jacques growing up. I came to the US, he was a teenager. But I would hear all these incredible stories about top of the class in high school, top of the class in college, in medical school. We heard from Roberto earlier today that he got the highest score of the British exam, which is a worldwide exam. So this was really phenomenal to hear all this about Jacques. And then one day he calls me. I was a junior faculty at the University of Cincinnati. He was finishing medical school, and he was looking for a sub-internship. And we were lucky to have him come to Cincinnati. He mentioned it in his speech earlier today. And everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. He did a great job, no surprise. But they wouldn't take him in the residency program. I was disappointed. I'm sure he was disappointed. And so he ended up in England. Well, guess what? He got the better part of it. Because first he worked under beautiful, wonderful people like Alan Crockard, legend, and Lindsay Simon. And he met his wife, as we heard earlier today. And can you imagine if he had not met Fiona, that there would be no Fiona in the picture, and there would not be the beautiful kids in the picture? So for the junior, for the resident and student, disappointments can lead to great things. So don't let that knock you down, and it certainly did not knock down Jacques Morcos. Now let's fast forward 4 years. I get a call from Jacques Morcos from London saying, Ray, I have 3 offers for residencies in the US. First one, I said, drop it. Second one, I said, potential. Third one, Roberto Heroes in Minnesota. I said, you stop right here and you take it. The rest is history, obviously. And this is the time for me to thank Roberto for all that you did, for who you are. Majid, thank you for this evening, and I also want to thank you for this evening. Jacques took care of events honoring Roberto, honoring Bob Spetzler, honoring Evandro de Oliveira when he was diagnosed with his disease, and many others. So I remember telling Jacques, I said, Jacques, who's going to honor you? Who's going to take care of you? Well, of course, Roberto Heroes is the man to do it. So an applause for Roberto. Now, fast forward, I became chair of Baylor Neurosurgery in Houston, and we needed to start a new program at St. Luke's Hospital. I couldn't think of any better person to be chief of service than Jacques Morcos, so I contact Jacques. He comes, looks at the job, and turns it down. And I say to myself, I guess Houston is not big enough for the two of us. And to prove that I'm right is I leave Houston and he takes a job in Houston. You see what I'm saying? But joke aside, you did right not to take that first job, and you did right to take that second job. And I think Jacques is going to build a phenomenal program at University of Texas in Houston. So let me close by a personal note and message. Jacques, I am your family here. I represent your mom, who means so much to you, and I know she could not be here. You know how proud she is of you. Always, all her life, has been proud of you. I'm here to represent your late father, Jean, who would have been very proud of you, but passed away too early. I'm here to represent my father, Emile. who was a second father to you. And he was extremely proud of you. And I am extremely proud of you. You are one of a kind. I love you. Way to go, Jacques.
Fatty Charbel.
Hard to follow this crowd. Where do I start? I was not sure I would be talking, even though Roberto asked me to do it. So many people that can do much better justice than I can. But I usually speak from the heart, and there are two things that I'm going to say. The first one has, again, to do with this relationship between Jacques and Roberto. I did not know Jacques in Lebanon because we went to different medical schools. I was in Detroit, having come from the French side to the American side, and nobody had done it before me except for Ray, and that was a few years before. But I did not know Ray, so I thought I was some sort of a pioneer. And because I was in that part of the world, whenever an applicant would apply to our program from that part of the world, my chair, Dr. Ausman, would run the profile by me. And usually I look at him and meh. And then there was this guy. I did not know him, like I said. I look at his profile and it blew me away. You heard it. I did not know him personally, but you can read what's in there. Glowing recommendation, working with Alan Crocard, the best scores, the best this, the best that. You know what I did? I had never done it before. I picked up the phone and I called him. And I said, "You are unbelievable. You should come to this country." And I really wanted to be a resident with him. So he came and he looked. And then after a while, I was at the Woods Hole meeting. He called me and he said, you know what he said, Roberto? Back then, he said to me, "I am going to hitch my academic career with this man, Roberto Heros." When was that, Jacques? 1989. He did not know you that much, but he knew somehow something clicked. So that's the first point. The second point is now this vector, me and Jacques. Now we know each other very well, we appreciate each other, and we're really, really good friends. But we don't have to agree on everything. There was a subject upon which we really disagreed, strongly disagreed. And we talked about it, And then one day, I think it was a AANS meeting, wasn't it? Some meeting. And we run into each other going back to bed in the elevator, going up the elevator, and we have a heart-to-heart. I said certain things that I thought were strong, and maybe he said the same. He didn't, because he's a better man. I went to my room. I couldn't sleep. I felt like shit. I was flying the next day. I get to the airport, and I couldn't take it anymore. I sent a text to Jacques. I said, "Jacques, I don't care what you think or what I think, but my heart loves you, and let's put everything aside, and we'll never talk about anything except that how much I care about you and how much I admire you." And you know what he actually said to me? He said to me, I woke up at 3 in the morning, right, Jacques? And he couldn't sleep either. To the point where he went to the airport at 5 in the morning, and his flight wasn't until much later. And I'm having chills telling this story, and I'll never forget it for the end of my days. And what does that tell me? Here's this relationship, here's this relationship. The common denominator is this man, who is blessed in ways that I don't know what they are. And I guess that's all I'm going to say. Thank you for asking me to speak.
Well, I hope I haven't left anybody out that had agreed to speak. I actually lost my list, so it's a catastrophe. But the last speaker we have scheduled is a surprise. It's actually a surprise for Jacques. I hope he didn't know that. And this speaker will have no time limit. She can say anything she wants to, for as long as she wants to. Tina Morcos. Tina Morcos.
I'm not allowed to go off script, so that's why I have this, or else it would be a nightmare for everybody. If you didn't cry enough this morning, just wait and see. My name is Tina, the youngest of the 3 Morcos kids, but I like to refer to myself as the favorite child. But Jacques and Fiona would never admit that. You may know our dad as Dr. Morcos, blah, 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 but to us, he really is just Dad. No. To our close friends, he's the man, the myth, the legend. And not just out of formality, but because of the genuine impression he's left on them. For as long as I can remember, my dad has been giving us riddles and brain teasers, which sounds really fun until you're in your 7th birthday party and you and your friends are being grilled with logic puzzles that require a PhD to solve. But up until the second my dad left the house for work, until the moment he came home, he was always a dad first. His fatherhood is the essence of who he is and is stitched into everything he does. The way he calls us individually after work to ask about our day, or the way he puts his world on pause when one of us is struggling. Tim. She's okay. To him, his children's success isn't measured in titles, money, or recognition. It's in passion. In his eyes, if we follow what we love, we've already made it. And that's what makes him walk a little taller, smile a little wider, and randomly want to cut up fruit and hand it to us without explanation. My dad isn't the kind of man you find in storybooks, and not just because of the strong accent. His story is written in the calluses of his hands, in the long roads he's walked with quiet strength, and in the love he pours into his family like it's the most natural thing in the world. Now at this point, you might be thinking, wait, this guy is a world-renowned neurosurgeon, and he's the best dad in the world. Is there anything he can't do? Let me reassure you. Despite knowing every one of Newton's laws of motion, and every physics and mathematical equations from Einstein's book, there are still gaps in his knowledge. In the name of riddles, I've come up with a few questions that no E = mc squared could help him answer confidently. To my dad, these are probably the most difficult brain teasers of all time. How do you preheat an oven? What kind of store is Trader Joe's? What are the maximum points in a touchdown? Who is Beyonce married to? And Fiona, you'll like this one. What does fabric softener look like? Finally, the tables have turned, and how does it feel now, Dad? But truly, I list these things to remind myself that he is in fact human, because I often mistake him for a superhero. They do say behind every strong man is a stronger woman. But in our family, she doesn't just stand behind him, she holds him up. I'm like laughing and crying. Our mom, Fiona, is the foundation of his strength and the anchor of his success. And the best part is he will tell you this over and over. Without her, he'd be wandering around the house looking for his wallet, arguing with the washing machine, and eating olives straight out of the jar for dinner. She's also the reason he was able to show up in a matching suit today. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for not just being satisfied with John and Izza, for having me to complete the family, and giving me a life full of everything good, because you gave it all. And most importantly, thank you for giving me two best friends, our dogs Tessie and Luna. As I've gotten older, I've been able to think more deeply about how parents shape individuals and dictate the quality of life their children ought to live. But I've realized there's never, ever, ever been a time in my life where I compared my dad to anybody else's, but rather contrasted. I've only ever thought about how devastating it must be for everyone else not to have a father like Jacques in their life. He is the inspiration of my life, the matchstick to my flame, the reason I'm able to see my value and impact on the world. He instilled the confidence in me that no words could ever bring down. He's the reason I'm resilient in my fights, because at the end of every riddle, He's the reason I'm resilient in my fights, because at the end of every riddle, no matter how frustrating or impossible it seemed, he was always there with the answer, a smile, and the reminder that we are never alone in figuring things out. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Tina. You know, I remember several trips abroad, Europe, Taiwan, and Jack interrupting whatever we were doing and said, no, I have something important to do. And on the telephone then, he would go over the homework with Tina and make sure that she did her homework and help her with the homework. So that's the kind of man that this man is. Jack, we have a little memento for you from all of neurosurgery, and particularly from the people that are here. So why don't you come and open it? It's a small gift, so it needs big bucks. Yeah, read.
You want me to read something?
Yeah, I thought he had an inscription. They didn't do this. Somewhere it's an inscription.
Because I'm not in charge.
Well, this inscription is not there. We'll write it. You leave it with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. To Jacques J. Morcos, MD, on the occasion of your presidency of the AANS, from your friends from around the world. And you are all here. Are there any words? Yes, there are. Okay. Are there slides? No slides. No slides.
You know, what I said earlier today, what I said is because of these 4 people here. It's true. And I hope all of you, in your passion for neurosurgery, family is really embedded in it. I mean, that's the way I've lived my life. That's the way that's why I love those kids, this wonderful wife. May we all be blessed by happiness. We're going to hear about happiness tomorrow. I'm not going to go, I mean, first of all, I'm just looking at this room. I'm so touched. I mean, you took your Saturday night to be here to make me feel special. I feel extremely special. I must have done something right, whether it's my mother, my father, whatever it is. Whether it's finding Paul Camarata on that, what's the name of that computer? 2CX, Apple 2CX. First time I saw you in Minnesota. You know, the ripple effect, all this stuff, just one look, you know, we've become friends since 1990. Mitesh Shah having his Meckel's diverticulum removed, us comforting his wife. Those little things in life that add up to become something. And if I have, whatever I have a gift for good memory. I build up things. Something means something to me. I store it somewhere. I add something good next to it. I'm pretty good at getting the bad stuff out, adding the good stuff. That's how I have a room of close friends, of people I count my brothers and sisters. That's what life is all about. What else is there to life? Of course, family and health and all that. And it hits hard when you lose somebody, Mike Groff or others. It hits hard. Cycle of life. I cannot thank you enough for being here. Make me feel very special. It's a life journey. Of course, professionally, that's why he's sitting next to me. Alan Crocard has opened the door for me. Didn't know anything about me, nothing. My CV was probably 3/4 of a page. Yeah, okay, fine, I was good in school, but that's not good enough. He took me on board. This is the only man in my 4 years in the UK who invited me to his home with his wife. This stuff, you know, gets a corner a little in your heart. That's why I honor him in 2007. I was president of the North American Skull-Based Society because he means something to me. That's why I honor him today, because he means something to me. I mean, I can go on, and there are many of you here. You talk about mosaic today. Each one of you that I know has a mosaic somewhere in my heart. That's what we all are, and this identity stuff, nonsense that goes on, we're complex human beings, and we just should love humanity. And anyway, I'm not going to repeat my speech, but I have prepared something because I knew I was going to be asked to say something, and so I've written, of course, I've written poems. What do you think I'm going to do? So, Fiona, my darling, come here. Help me distribute them. Come here. I'm going to read them, and I'm going to give them to the recipient. I'll tell you. Don't be, no, stay here. It's okay. Stay here. It's okay. Hold on. Stay here. Of course, to some of my mentors. Alain Crocard, a surgical Magellan. Almost 40 years passed since in me you believed. It is tough to decide what about you I love best. Is it the elegance, the skill, teachings I received, or the sincerity and kindness so expressed? Surgeon, educator, you also love rare birds, physician and sailor, on the oceans you cruise, inspiring humanist and a master of words. Belfast may hail you its son. I hail you a muse. Thank you very much. Okay, my friend Roberto, is this the 6th time I honor you? I'm sick and tired of it. By the way, that's chronologic order of course, who made whatever I am. You're enjoying this? Vanna, who is it? Vanna White. Okay, Roberto, one more poem to hang on your wall. Roberto Heros, the stuff that heroic dreams are made of. Valor beyond compare, honesty to a fault, courage that fuels armies, knowledge to educate, rich in heart, in soul, integrity in a vault. You can't break his integrity. Reluctant, you inspire, model to emulate. My teacher, my brother, I owe you my career. My well of words has dried, but not the gratitude. No matter the distance, forever I will cheer for you, a true hero, an incredible dude. I know you won't like the word dude, it's the only thing that rhymes. Are they? You thought you were going to escape from this one, did you? By the way, so proud of my new family, UT Houston. What is the second table of UT? Would you stand up, UT Houston? Please, both tables. Wonderful, wonderful family. Have a seat. Are they, my 6 months with him were so inspiring. Are they King Arthur, conqueror of the lands of Anatomia? You teach how to marry surgery with nature. Your mind cuts like a knife. Your thoughts so crystal clear. Your eyes pierce the unseen. Then you clip the creature, the aneurysm for the spouses. Beauty in every move and perfection so near. They poke fun and imitate the southern accent. Lame and easy the deed, for a child could do it. Real genius would be replicating your talent. I have seen many try, and they all just blew it. Well, the last two poems, they're not here, but I mean, it would be incomplete if I don't read it, and I'll send it to him. Robert Spetzler had to be on a long-range trip, and yes, as Roberto said, very instrumental in my... Where is Mike Lawton? Let's pretend you're Spetzler, even though you're not. Stand up. Will you stand up? Stand up. You're going to clip more aneurysm than him, don't worry. But you know, I love this man. We've got, anyway, that's another story. I love you. But I'm going to read this to Robert Spetzler. I'm going to look at you. Robert Spetzler, a phoenix from Phoenix, an Icarus with wings of steel. While panic strikes others, with confidence you soar. While all flail around you, a familiar story. You are the only phoenix rising with a roar. Mere surgeons succumb, no guts, no grit, no glory. Talents from God, yet beyond virtuosity, your spirit, dare I say, by far the better part. This rare mix of courage and generosity, I salute your uniqueness. Thank you from my heart. I'll send it to him. Thank you, Mike, for sending it. Last but not least, actually, Volker Sonntag, who obviously hasn't trained me, was supposed to be at this table, and I think he was indisposed. I love the man. He's a unique, and obviously hasn't trained me, so I actually prepared something for him, and I'll send it to him. Volker's, I wanted to have a jab at Spetzler, you know. He wasn't here for my meeting, but that's okay. Volker Sonntag, the better half, if you ask me, a stab at Spetzler. Never had the honor of being your mentee. Where the spine people will enjoy this. Don't know squat in the spine and all its approaches, but I am a great judge and I've watched you plenty. There's no better man to choose among all coaches. Integrity, your motto. Raunchy jokes, your style. You saved spine in the 80s. I've heard your sermon. Goodness flows out of your soul faster than a smile. Give me Chiefy any day. Oh, I'm going to look at you on this one. Give me Chiefy any day over that other German. Thank you. That's it. I'm going to stop here. You have no idea what this day, April 26, means to me. Thank you for sharing it with me, with my family. Thank you.